Imagine having access to the freedom and opportunities that the elites do. Now, looking back over history, that wealthy status was only truly accessible to those with a lot of capital, the royals, and usually a family, lineage, or dynasty. But in this day and age, 2025, it's never been easier or more accessible to access true wealth, freedom, and opportunity. There's now a new age of wealth creation, and that is through leverage. In the last episode of this series, we took a deep dive into each form of leverage, why it's a great opportunity, and with certain forms of leverage, why it can be a challenge or not always accessible. And for beginners, just like myself 9 years ago when I started this journey of wealth creation, a lot of the forms of leverage was simply not accessible to me. I didn't have the resources or the wealth to be able to afford a team, to be able to deploy capital to bring me asset appreciation, to invest into software and tech companies. So all I had was the markets, the best form of leverage that exists in this moment. And right now, with the rise of prop firms, it's never been easier, more accessible, and more lucrative to be involved within markets because you're not using your own money anymore. Now, I will give you a disclaimer. Only 3 to 5% of traders in the world actually make money. The rest of them, they're blowing account after account. So why would I be sitting here encouraging a model where majority of people fail? So we have to look at it from a realistic perspective. Not only just looking at my own journey where I've been involved in the markets for almost a decade, and it's been the #1 income source that I've had. It's unlocked all the types of leverages that I have in my life right now and given me absolute freedom. The markets is powerful, but the odds are against you. But when we look at the world around us, the odds are against you in anything worth having. If you want to be a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer, how many high school students get the grades to first apply to these degrees? And how many of those applicants get accepted into these degrees? And then how many of those applicants actually go on to graduate? When you look at that, it's probably a similar stat to trading. The difference here is lawyers are time for money. Doctors and dentists are time for money. There's no leverage and there's no huge opportunity there. So when we look at this opportunity, we have to approach it realistically and we have to approach it with a strategic plan. What you need is a simplified, data-driven, proven edge. And later on in this episode, when I unveil to you the trifecta that you need to unlock profitability in the markets, you will start to realize how actually easy it is, how lost other traders are, and how much consistency you can actually find within the refinements of this trifecta. Now, you'll notice that I'm focusing on systems. I'm not focusing on mindsets. And you will notice when you look around on the internet, when you look at YouTube content, you'll notice most traders are obsessed, focused, and attributing trading success to only mindsets. In fact, even on my podcast, I've had countless traders that have said psychology is #1, but I've also had some of the best traders on earth, and they all say the same thing. Psychology counts, mindset counts. But the difference between profitable and non-profitable traders is not the mindset. It's having a proven edge, a system that counts. That is something that can be understood. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. And so, as a trader, you only have 2 ways to gain scale and therefore leverage. And yes, there is a clear right or wrong answer to this. Option #1 is you optimize for returns. And option #2 is you optimize for capital. And I won't keep you waiting. The wrong way to try and gain scale in the markets is through returns. And unfortunately, that's what the majority of traders focus on. How to 1000x your portfolio in 2025. Buy these meme coins to get 1,000,000x on your capital today. We've seen these videos before of people to try and get scale through returns, unrealistic returns. And in fact, they're probably using you as their exit liquidity when they want to get out of that meme coin or altcoin. And although the videos might look very compelling, although they might give a lot of logic, we actually have to pause and think for a second. Is this realistic? Is this sustainable? Is this something I can do for a long time? Find longevity in this and actually rely on this as a wealth creation method? And sure, some people have those massive moments and even show you proof, but more likely that's just luck and it's a short-term high, not a sustainable system that you can do over time and rely on. And let's not forget about risk. Because in the markets, there is no reward without risk. But that doesn't mean just simply go big or go home, or no risk, no Ferrari. No. You approach it with a controlled risk attitude. Because you hear the stories of somebody buying a meme coin or somebody entering in the markets and making 1000x. But how many coins did they buy before they blew that account? How many accounts have they blown before they got a payout? We don't see the reality of what these stories are online. So therefore, to truly unlock the leverage that exists with the markets, the best form of the 5 leverages that I spoke about is with a proven system and with capital. And you might be thinking, how can I access capital? How can I access millions of dollars? Well, now the technology exists. In case you're not familiar with prop firms, these technology providers will give you access to simulated funds from $5,000 all the way up to $1 million. And as long as you have a system like the one I'm talking about, they will give you access to hundreds of thousands of dollars of buying power in the markets. And if you just take one of these $100,000 accounts and you make a 5% gain, a very realistic and achievable gain, that's $5,000 in your pocket. Here you have the power of compounding, because the more capital that you have, the same trades, that same 5% gain on a $100,000 account is only $5,000, but on a $1 million account, that's $50,000. And you can see as you grow your capital, the same consistent system with larger and larger capital can truly create life-changing money over time. And you might be thinking, Waqar, you're skipping something here. Because if I want to make $50,000 return in a single month, don't I have to risk a crazy amount? No, you can do this with as little as 0.5% or 1% risk per trade. Many traders risk 5 or 10 or even more per trade. I'm going completely conservative. And even if that risk seems like too much, remember, it's not your money. You can pay as little as $50 to $100 or $200 or $300, and you can access this large capital through prop firms. And if you do make a little bit of profit, they refund you that deposit, and now you are completely risk-free. Imagine how powerful that can be. So before I dive deeper into how to build these predictable systems and exactly what are the components of these predictable systems, first I have to give you a word of caution. This wonderful opportunity of prop firms and access to capital and the accessibility to the markets that we have now, there's no guarantee that it will be like this forever. In fact, just in the last 6 months and 1 year, a lot of prop firms have disappeared. For example, MyForex Funds, one of the biggest prop firms in the world, worth hundreds of millions of dollars, having their assets frozen by the US regulator because they were doing dirty practices. Or for example, TFT, a massive prop firm doing $10 million a month in revenue, also ceased to exist because it was run by crooks and cowboys. And therefore, if you truly want to gain this leverage in life, I recommend you get started sooner rather than later. That doesn't mean going all in and dropping your job and becoming a full-time trader. No, it starts off with just simply understanding and learning consistently profitable system. Because in the end, to be a profitable trader, you just need those two things: a proven system and capital to make it worthwhile. So now let's get into what it means to actually be a trader. What does that word mean? Because right now the market is up. The stock market is at highs, the crypto market is at highs. All those crypto gurus and bros have re-emerged after a bear cycle, and everybody wants to be a trader. But this also happened in 2021 around COVID time. In fact, this happens a lot because the market is cyclical, where a lot of people come in thinking it's a get rich quick scheme and the best opportunity, which it can be, but not in this boom and bust fashion. For example, you see all of those guys that were buying meme coins back in 2021, how did they end up? All of those people that were buying NFTs when they were booming, where did they end up? 99% down. We have to take a look at the markets from a professional approach, not the online approach that many see. Despite the economy going boom and bust, despite the crashes of 08 and COVID, despite election highs, I've personally been able to be profitable year upon year upon year for 5+ years. And why is that? Because you have to build systems irrespective of market cycles, irrespective if the market is going up or down, or booming or crashing. And what that comes down to is understanding market directions, a system, an edge built around market reactions and high probability market movements. Unlike the gambler, who will have recency bias, confirmational bias, emotional highs, revenge trading, FOMO-based trading, the list goes on of emotional erratic decision making that eventually always leads to losing money. So how do we actually go about finding consistency, finding profitability, and actually building a strategy? So to boil it down, as they say, if you want to have that 1% life, you have to do things different to others. You can't follow the herd, and the same applies to the markets. You cannot be a sheep and follow everyone's strategy. You cannot follow what everyone else is doing, meaning to say, you can't just follow every guru online, follow every website, every course, every book you read, because that generalist mindset is what everyone is doing. And if everyone is losing money in the markets, 97% of traders lose money, then to be in that 3%, you naturally have to do things different. And instead of being a generalist, instead of trying to learn everything, you have to be a specialist, and you have to focus on very narrow parameters. What that looks like for me is, I don't trade gold and Forex and crypto and stocks and have my eyes all over the markets. That's not a specialist approach. In fact, I only trade Euro USD and GBP USD, two currency pairs. I don't trade 24 hours in the day whenever an opportunity looks like it's going to work. I trade specific time windows during a London Open and a New York key window. I don't have random reasons reasons to get into the market, where one day is trend lines, the next day is Fibonacci, the next day is a run of liquidity, the next day is a support and resistance. And that's the problem with most traders. Because they learn so much, they take in a bit of everything and they mix it up differently every day. One day it's a mix of these three things, the next day is a mix of these two things. So when you're always taking in all this information, mixing it up randomly and having a cocktail of confluences, of course you will have random results. Of course you'll be in that losing percentile. Whereas if you're that specialist, you focus on just a few concepts, you only need a handful of high quality reasons to get into the market, and then you need to have a system to know when to say yes and know when to say no. And then your job as a trader is just to show up to the market and see, hey, does today meet my criteria? If yes, I take a trade. If no, I don't take a trade. And then you remove all elements of emotion. You remove all chaos. You remove all stress. You just simply follow the plan. And you don't need to be thinking from a place of stress. Why? Because you know you can trust your data. And that's why I say the life of a trader is actually boring. It's not these crazy highs and lows and the things you see on the Wolf of Wall Street where everyone's drugged up, hyped up, and ready to go and make money. No, in fact, I calmly wake up. I open my laptop. I scan the market to see, is it fitting my plan today, yes or no? If it is, I wait for my trade to come. If it isn't, I close my laptop and carry about my day, working towards the other forms of leverage. So no need for 20-hour trading days, no need for 20 things you're monitoring, no need for 20 trades a day, no need for all these emotional spikes that after a long day of trading and you've taken a bunch of losses, and you go home to your loved ones and you're angry and frustrated and let it out on them. That's going to rob you of all peace, all fulfillment, all satisfaction, and in the end, make you no closer towards your goals. So therefore, as a trader, what you need to get very good at is the ability to say no. The ability to say, no, that's not my trade. That's not for me. That's not my system. So a professional trader is not aiming for a home run. They're not aiming for one big payout. They're not aiming to capitalize on every single opportunity in the market. They know what is their opportunity, and they know if they follow their opportunities only, they will have a positive result. A very boring, simplified, professional way. And therefore I want to say that's a very empowering approach, because not only is it easy once you have a system, it's a very liberating feeling because you just have to sit back and make your edge do the heavy lifting, not requiring heavy mental power, not relying on extreme intelligence or IQ, not relying on natural talent. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. And that's why I say trading is the best leverage in life, because it's a very hard way to make money for beginners. But once you have a system, it's one of the easiest ways to make money, because once you follow your system, have large enough capital, money just comes effortlessly. And you take that cash and you deploy it into other forms of leverage, and you'll be well on your way to financial escape velocity and true wealth creation. So you must be starting to see there's no secret sauce, there's no holy grail, there's nothing crazy you have to do. You just have to follow a sensible roadmap. And you may be wondering, Waqar, how did you come to these conclusions? How did you reach this stage? Well, I'll be honest. I went through the full trader's experience. I've done the blown accounts. I've tried every strategy under the sun. I followed the signals. I fell for the traps of the fake mentors. I went down all the little rabbit holes, and through all of those trial and errors and realizing that was not working, I started to have certain revelations. Number one is practice is more important than theory. Theory in the markets can get you only so far. When you have too many ways of looking at the markets, it's hard to take a decision, or you take too many decisions. And I realized that empowering myself as a trader was not about learning more or doing more. It was just refining more, having specific criterias. And because I had that scientific background, because I was studying dentistry, I knew how the scientific process went. I knew how to do testing in a system. I knew what a controlled variable was and independent variables that I would test. I knew how to do the split testing process. I knew how to measure statistical significance of an edge. And through all of this trial and error, I started to realize the power in trading is not by adding more, it was by being restricted. And that's why I've always said a restricted trader is a profitable trader, because a win in the market is guaranteed. Every single trader on earth can take a win. Even a novice trader, even a non-trader can take wins. In fact, you may have seen the memes of the chicken trader, a chicken that has a bit of food on a green button and a red button. And if the chicken chooses to eat off the green button, the guy will buy. And if it chooses to eat off the red button, it will sell. This chicken went on to get $100,000 in funding and thousands of dollars in payouts. So that should show you, temporary highs mean nothing. Temporary lows mean nothing. Your overall trajectory, your overall edge, that is your true North Star. That is the only truth in the market that you cannot hide away from. And how can I sit here and say these things with such confidence? Well, if you didn't know, for the entirety of last year, in fact, right now, it's been over 15 months, more than one entire year, that I've been calling each one of my trades live ahead of time. That's something that simply cannot be faked. People can manipulate screenshots. People can do Photoshops. They can rent a broker. They can fake all of these things. But the one thing you cannot fake in the markets is calling it live ahead of time. So I took that as a project for myself. for the entirety of 2024, where I knew that the only way I could document full transparency was calling the market ahead of time, because then I'm saying exactly what I'm about to do, exactly when I'm going to enter and where I'm going to enter, with my exact stop loss, my exact take profit level, and the exact explanation in its entirety. And I documented the entire thing on my Twitter, a public documentation that anyone can go and verify every single win, every single loss, every single break-even trade, not just the highs only, the highs and the lows, the realities of how I navigated an entire year in the markets. And if I edited a tweet, if I wanted to manipulate something, it would have said edited. So this is absolute transparency, and there's nothing I can do to manipulate it, and there's nothing anyone can say to say it's fake, because it's the only transparent way to prove yourself in the markets. Everything else, all the other proof that people show you, there's always a trick that they have to fake it. And unless you have a time machine, you simply cannot fake live call outs, because I documented everything. And throughout that 1 year of documenting my trades, where I gave over 70 public signals and gained over 55% gain, if you had a $100,000 account, which is on the low end of platform accounts, you would have made $50,000 following my public signals. If you had $1 million, you would have made $500,000 in profit if you were following just my signals. By the way, I'm not here to sell you a signal service. That's never going to happen. I do this publicly for free to help people and show my absolute transparency and credibility of my craft, because I'm proud of the edge that I've created and the decade-long experience that I have in the market that I want to showcase. And as you know, trading is just a game of percentages. And if you can lock in just a fraction of what I performed in the last year, instead of 50%, just a 20%, and you had $200,000 in capital, you would have made $40,000 in profits, better than the average salary. And not only were there countless traders that were able to profit from my signals, that were tweeting about it, posting about it, people from all over the world, from young people as young as 17, one individual, Hamza from Morocco, an 18-year-old who made $10,000 in payouts simply following my signals, and other traders getting funded, other traders getting profits just by simply following my free public signals, to not only show I was doing it, but others who are following along with my public documentation. And more importantly, the real thing that I wanted people to realize, and those few traders that switched on, they would have realized every single one of my trades, they were the same. There was no randomness in the trades that I called out for an entire year. 70 plus trades, every single one of them followed the same confluences, followed the same strategy, followed the same plan, followed that same consistency. So you can see, not only am I pulling profits out of the markets, I can do it in a consistent way that breathes longevity, because I was following a specific plan that was following the trifecta that is very easy to follow. And what is that trifecta? Let me finally break it to you. Number one is time. Number two is inducements. Number three is lower time frame confirmations. If you add this trifecta to any system on earth, any trading strategy, I guarantee you it will improve its profitability, because I believe there's no sense in following the markets from a perspective of correlation. A trend line is a correlation. A Fibonacci is a correlation. An indicator is a correlation. Correlation simply means when one thing happens, another thing just happens to happen. So if you look at something as common as Fibonacci, which many traders rely on, it's not a causation. That's not the reason the market moves. It's a correlation. It happens to nicely reflect a nice coincidence of generally where price could reverse. So when I was learning all of this information, I decided to remove every strategy that was a correlation, every strategy that was random and regurgitated, and I boiled down my system to only following primary drivers, first principles of the markets, the reason the market moves. And the trifecta is the best way to represent the reason the market moves. Number one, time of day. For example, in the European or US market, if I'm trading Euro USD, there's absolutely a fact that there's going to be more liquidity, more volume in a London open than there's going to be in the middle of the night in an Asia session. So why would I trade at those times when this is the time that there's most volume, most movement, most volatility in the market? So therefore, time is an absolute driver of price. There's more orders condensed at a London open than any other times of the day. So I made that a confluence within my restrictions. And as a trader, we need volume, we need momentum, we need market movements to have profitability, for our trades to play out. We can't just be in a choppy price range, because price will never go towards our take profit levels. So volume, momentum, liquidity, these things are concentrated at specific times in the day. So I focused on those times. And you might say, hey, but there's a winning trade happening at this time or that time or later on. Sure, but remember, the job of a trader, a professional trader, is the ability to say no, because anyone can take a winning trade. But I know if I take these trades at these times, I might get some wins, sure, but I'm also going to get more losses. So the ability to be restricted, the ability to say no, is when you'll have more profitability, because profitability does not lie in winning trades, it lies in avoiding losing trades. Same goes for inducements. Liquidity is the fuel of the markets. It's the air of the markets. It's the oxygen of the market. It's the reason price moves. Without liquidity, price simply would not move. Liquidity is simply fulfillment of orders. If there's all these buyers that want to buy over here, but if there's not enough sellers to sell to the buyers, then the market will just not simply fulfill those orders. So price needs to bring in the liquidity to sell to all of those buyers. So how can the market engineer more liquidity? How can the market grab more orders? It's by this word inducements. And inducements simply do not lie. It's an absolute fact of the market. On any time frame, on any currency pair, an inducement will always lead the show. Now, there's going to be different types of inducements, and there's going to be inducements that are more probable and less probable. But if you are following inducements, you are watching the markets from a perspective of causation, not correlation. And if you start to combine these two, if you're entering at the market at the most volatile time of day with the most liquidity at that time of day, and then you're entering the market with an inducement where there is more orders in the market, more liquidity in the market, you are entering the market with two combinations of prime situations. And then lastly, we need some sort of confirmation. And that's why I modeled lower time frame confirmation sets. Now, it's all good that I say I want price to go up and it should go roughly from here, but I need to have precision. I need to know exactly when and where it's going to reverse. So therefore, I go down to the lower time frames, places where people are scared because they call it noise. Simply, they do not understand what's going on. But the lower time frames reveals all the truth, the exact impulses of the markets, exactly what's happening down to each detail. And once you get confirmations with specific models that are easy to teach and easy to follow, that completes the trifecta. You just have a trend and high probability areas that I know from this area price should go up, and then I allow my trifecta to play out in that area. I wait for a London Open, a time of day, I wait for a run of liquidity and therefore an inducement, and I wait for lower time frame confirmations. And therefore, if I'm entering at that moment with the most volume, with the most liquidity, with the most volatility, it's very easy for me to have a strong reaction if I got it right. And therefore, I can have a quick take profit. I don't have to sit and hold a trade for a week or 2 weeks or even 2 days, because that's just time for me to get emotional, get greedy and mess it up. And the reality is, if you can trade with this trifecta, you are trading session volatility, session reactions, session movements, and therefore you can be in and out of a trade and get a 1 to 3 risk reward, 3 times your money in the space of just a few hours, in a single direction, in a single impulse, not chopping around and making your mind go frustrated and crazy with all the emotions of seeing big numbers and small numbers and big numbers as price fluctuates. And when I realized this, when I tested this and I built a mechanical system around this, my profitability vastly changed. I didn't have to follow all of those indicators and have crazy lines all over my screen. I didn't have to follow all those typical schools of thought that are outdated, don't work, or just regurgitated by fake gurus. I followed a plan that actually worked, a system that allowed me to make millions of dollars from the markets, a system that allowed me to do something that no trader has ever done on earth, which is call the market live ahead of time for every single trade for an entire year and documents 50% plus profitability. And not only that, the same system allowed me to teach others to help them find profitability and for them to go on to make thousands of dollars as well. So the only question left to answer, how can you build your own profitable system? In my case, I've been carving it out for almost a decade, month to month, year to year, constant refinements and improvements to maintain a consistent edge in the market. And just looking through my own trading career, the inflection point, the change, the reason I started to actually get profitability is when I prioritize practice over theory. When I focus on the markets itself and not just bouncing from course to course, mental to mental, YouTube video after YouTube video. Information is important, but it's simply not enough. So the journey ahead of me when I first started was years and years and years of painstaking refinements, going through trade after trade, account blown after account blown, tweak after tweak, testing after testing, to slowly over time develop an edge, then see it fail, then develop another edge. It survives for a bit of time and then dies out again, to eventually building out a system, a profitable system that is replicatable, easy to adopt and easy to recognize, because it's focusing on the trifecta, the trinity that I mentioned, that is derivatives of first principles. And the reason I say practice over theory, or just like anything, you can only learn so much in a classroom. If I wanted to learn a new language, I could sit in a classroom and study all the vocabulary, study the textbook, but I'll never be truly fluent in a language, never understand the nuances in slang, in the accent, in local phrases, until I went to that country and spoke to people around and actually mastered that language through practice. Same for mastering a sport. You could watch YouTube videos all day long. You could read textbooks and autobiographies on the best athletes in the world, but until you go to the pitch and pick up a ball, you will never master that craft. So therefore, if you really want to master trading, the same applies. You can learn in the classroom, but you can only learn so much in the classroom. Great traders are born in the trenches, in practice, in the live markets when they are applying what they learned. So that brings us to an interesting crossroad where you have three options in front of you. Because now that you've gone through this profit paradigm shift event, life is no longer going to be the same because you now have new information on actually how to create wealth. So therefore, option number one, you simply ignore everything you've just learned, all this information on how the wealthiest people in the world generated their wealth, how in 2025, trading with prop firms is the best wealth creation method that exists because it's focusing on leverage and scale with minimized risk. And you just walk away and miss out on the best way to achieve financial freedom that has ever existed in history. Because right now we are in that Goldilocks zone and we don't know how long this window of opportunity is going to last. Now, if you're someone that's watched through this event and you've taken it seriously and you've understood the opportunity that exists, where you don't want to be chained to the system anymore, a slave to your job, where you're constantly exchanging your time for money with no real light at the end of the tunnel, I know you're probably not going to just walk away with this information and throw it in the bin because you know it's powerful, you've understood it's true, and you've understood the time is now. So option number two therefore becomes you try and do it by yourself. And to be honest, it's a valid option. That's exactly what I did because I didn't have someone in front of me that could take me from the beginning to the end, wipe out all of the wrong paths and the mistakes that I could have made, and just put the straight path in front of me with the least amount of resistance so I could achieve my goals faster and easier because every single month that passes counts. And to be honest, to reach that stage, it took me years and years of obsession and testing and sacrifice. But honestly, it is doable. It's just a lot harder and it will take a lot longer. But at least for now, I've given you that framework of exactly what journey ahead lies and the correct approaches towards leverage and life. But it is worth considering. It's not only about just becoming a profitable trader, it's about staying a profitable trader because many traders become profitable. They have a profitable month. They have one good payout. But if you want to take this as a lifelong opportunity, the best leverage that exists, I'm sure you want to capitalize on it for the rest of your life because you can really scale and compound the cash flow that trading can bring without having to modify the inputs because all you have to do is leverage more capital with the same trades taken. And if you do choose that path, my hope is you make it in time before the Goldilocks window, the optimal time closes, with prop firms still being around, with access to so much capital, millions of dollars accessible at your fingertips for a very inexpensive amount. Or your third option, which is allow me to give you my systems, which means me handing you my exact system for profitability, the exact specific checklist, and the exact recognition patterns and criteria to really maximize on that trifecta, the trinity of confluences that are primary drivers in the markets. So you have an exact checklist, an exact system that is proven by data, that is proven by live performance with my 1-year track record, and is proven by many other traders who have replicated that system and made thousands of dollars for themselves. And all of that I can hand you on a silver platter without you having to go through the years of struggle that I had to go through, and you can actually start going to the markets and start applying and practicing right away because this is the first time I'm opening up an opportunity just like this. I've never done it before and I'm not sure if and when we'll do it again. But right now with the Profit Paradigm Shift event, we are creating a special opportunity which is going to be the Profit Paradigm Shift 10-day bootcamp because my goal is to really revolutionize the trading industry. After seeing all the crooks in the space, all the lies, all the fakeries, all the smokes and mirrors and frauds, and therefore more and more struggling traders than ever, my goal has always been to bring value to the space. That's why for the last year and a half, I've been growing one of the biggest trading podcasts in the world, bringing you valuable insights from some of the best traders from across the world, where I'm traveling around the world at my own expense to bring value to the industry. And on my main channel, at my own cost, having a team of editors, a studio setup and everything there, so I can bring weekly value of insights from my own trading career. A decade long of experience in the markets, going through case studies, specific market conditions, specific theories, specific tips and nuggets that you can apply right away. And as a result, we have started to make an impact. But I want to take this to the next level and actually have a greater hand in changing more lives. So within the 10-day Profit Paradigm Shift Bootcamp, no matter if you have no experience or you're a beginner trader or you are an advanced trader, I'm going to be laying out specific concepts that you need without all of the fluff, without all of the stuff that doesn't work or the things you do not need. Specific actionable systems, building it step by step from the ground up to build out a specific profitable trade model with an exact step list and an exact process on how to recognize it. And once again, the idea is not to just show you how to take winning trades. Even a chicken can do that, remember. The goal is how to eradicate losses so that when you have winners, you don't give it all away back to the markets. It's how to make your winners last and therefore sustain profitability. So with that, we're going to be focusing on market structure, points of interest, trends, and sub-refinements of all of these things. But we're going to be building a lot further on top of that, where we're going to explore at length inducements, liquidity, the importance of time of day, the confirmations on how to get in, risk management systems, profit-taking systems, a full encompassing bootcamp of exactly what you need to get started and place your first profitable trades with a specific data-driven profitable system. The trading system that allowed me to publicly document all of my trades for an entire year live ahead of time call-outs, generating me over 50% gain. And just imagine what that could do for you if you had $100,000 or a $200,000 trading account. That could be life-changing money. And it's also been proven with other people, with other traders under my wing who have made thousands of dollars from the markets replicating this exact system. And let's not forget that this whole time I've been adamant in explaining that practice is more important than theory. So not only will you have a 10-day incubator, I'm also going to be giving you a full environment to nurture your application, to nurture your practice. And how are we going to do that? We're going to be trading alongside you, live every single day. You heard correct. Live trading every single day, live on stream, twice a day, to approach the key London window and to approach the key New York window. 2 opportunities per day. We'll be approaching them together live on stream for a 6-week period. Enough time for you to get started, practice, ask your questions, see the nuances, see the details, see exactly how it works, and have enough repetition again and again so that you're well on your way to mastering that system and having plenty of opportunities to take profitable trades alongside us. So here you actually get to see our live thought processes and how we tackle the information that we are giving you, the system that we have, how we go and deploy that in the markets, how we actually operate. When do we hesitate? When do we think? When do we stop? When do we enter? How do we manage? All of these questions that traders have, but they have no guidance around them. And that's the reason they keep blowing accounts, because it's not the information that arms them. It's how to utilize that information and application and practice. That's what counts. So therefore, that's exactly what I wanted to create. And all of this is aligning with the system that we have. The trifecta and trinity that we focus on are primary drivers in the market. And I know you're eagerly awaiting to see how you can get started. So before I tell you exactly how to get involved, I just want to tell you a few more things that excites me a lot, because already there's so much value here on the table. A 10-day bootcamp experience plus 6 weeks of daily live trading multiple times a day, taking trades alongside us, managing trades with us, and having real-time updates. On top of that, for free, I want to throw in some extra value, some bonuses so that you have no stone left unturned, no questions left, and everything you need to foster success. And that's going to start off with a specific cheat sheet, a full-on guide. Think of it like an ebook, where we're going to go through all of the terminology, all of the things that could confuse you. And within this ebook, every single term that we utilize with this full explanation and definition, so that if you ever get lost on the live stream, if you ever get lost within the bootcamp, you have this on your side so that you can open up and reference anything, so that if you're ever lost, you can find the answer right away. And this will not only help your experience with us, it will make sure you never get left behind, or that you never feel overwhelmed, or that you ever get lost. And I got thinking, what else could we add? That's when I decided to go through the last 1 year of Zoom calls that I've done. Some of them 1, 2, even 3 hours long. And with the hundreds of hours and multiple times a week we were sitting down together with these traders, we collected some of the key questions that they had at points where they didn't understand, in areas that they got confused, in price action points where they didn't understand how to use the theory and apply it in the markets. We collected all of these Zoom calls, all of this information into bite-sized digestible playlists. So you get to see the questions that they asked and us answering them with chart examples and explanations, so that even after the 10-day bootcamp, if you still have questions, so that even after the daily live streaming multiple times a day for 6 weeks, if you still have questions, then you have this resource where you get to see the questions that traders just like you asked us and the areas that they got confused, and you get to see exactly how we solve those problems. And I thought, what else? What else could I throw to make this the most irresistible offer? I thought the last thing is I have to give you my time. And that's going to be with us sitting down on a Zoom call together, a live Q&A where you get to ask me any questions you have, any doubts you have, any losses you take and you don't understand why, advices on how you can tackle the journey ahead, how you can maximize this opportunity, how you can gain further leverage in life. That's where we'll sit down on a Zoom call together with like-minded individuals and tackle all of the problems together. And not only that, you'll have access to one of my closest friends, Alex Garcia, because we started together. We started this trading journey together years and years ago. And for the entirety of our trading journey, we've been working at it together, trading together, blowing accounts together, and making money together. And he's also made a life-changing amount of money from the markets, unlocked freedoms for himself, moved out to Dubai, built businesses, and unlocked all forms of leverage. And you'll also have access to not only my expertise, but also his expertise live in the Q&A sessions. And so therefore, for us to celebrate this event, the profit paradigm shift for a small window of time only, because this opportunity is going to go away. In just a short amount of time, I'm going to be closing the doors to this opportunity forever. You will not be able to access the profit paradigm shift, the 10-day incubator, the 6 weeks of live streaming, the cheat sheets guide, the specific topic Q&A section, and the doors to the opportunity in general. Trading as a whole, we don't know how long this opportunity is going to last. With the way that it exists right now, with the prop firm opportunity that we have to truly scale capital and maximize this leverage. Because a year from now, if you follow our guidance, you turn up to the live streams, you're accountable, you work hard, and you follow the roadmap we are putting in front of you, I'm confident you'll be sitting there in a villa just like me, traveling across the world just like me, having complete independence to do what you want, when you want, how you want, and need nobody's permission. Absolute independence. And by the way, don't just take it from me. Look at the people just like you that took action on this journey. Hundreds of traders that joined us, and hundreds of traders that went on to get funded or go on to make thousands and thousands of dollars in payouts, consistent profitability, and eventually quit their jobs and finally gain the leverage of profits from the markets. That profits paradigm shift. So by now, I hope you are taking this seriously. And I hope you realize how big of an opportunity this is and how short of a time you have to truly maximize in this optimal window. And just to give you that last piece of motivation, that last piece of encouragement, in 2 days' time, I'm going to be hosting a special Q&A call where we can sit down together live on a Zoom call and go through any questions you have and make sure you are approaching this journey ahead in the best, most optimal way. When I was creating this offer, I'll be honest, I was going to make it for $1,000, but I thought that's not accessible enough. I want to be sure this message, this system, this opportunity reaches as many people as possible. So as this event concludes, I want to give you a special discount so that you can take action right away and make this as accessible and affordable as possible to get access to everything for not $1,000, not $500, for just $397. So click the link below where I'll take you to a website where it gives you all of the information that you need to get enrolled and onboarded right away. And I'll see you on Wednesday on a Q&A call as we begin our 10-day incubator. And for the next 6 weeks with our coaches, live trading every single day for London and New York session. So ladies and gents, do take action. It's been a wonderful 3-part series where I hope that I've given you enough value to change your paradigms on how you approach wealth, on how you approach life, on how you approach freedoms, and therefore unlock the life that you deserve. And I hope I get to speak to you personally very soon. So ladies and gents, see you on the other side.